So we're here to figure out how to find a unicorn. And coincidentally, Thomas, for you being here, I think the first person I ever heard it phrased this specific way, and we'll get to the punchline in a little bit, came from Katrina. So, and when I was the TL there, I think she asked this question to somebody or in a class, she posed this question, it's just always stuck for me. It's a great analogy for finding talent. So I specifically love it. And we're going to get through a few things today. First off, Thomas, you know me. You've had a chance to meet Shara before. If you don't have my direct information, and you probably should, feel free to jot it down, write it down. Always happy to talk either in the building or out of the building in regards to anything involving leadership. So that is my direct cell. And this is Shara's direct number as well, even sitting in the Philippines. I don't know how much you know about Shara. Shara, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, so I believe I'm not sure. I think I've heard about you, Thomas, before, but then again, I'm Shara. I'm actually the growth backer assigned here at Cyberbacker Maryland, and I'm working closely with Jeff Gunn, with Jose Rivas, and even with Maria Santillano. So I'm actually the one who helped our clients to evaluate their business, to figure out the things that might, really help them to hit their goal by the end of this year.
So Shara is our sales manager,
Okay.
and so she helps clients figure out these next pieces, actually, coincidentally enough. And Irene is the one that helps the clients dig in and find the person that matches the descriptions that we're going to go through today. So first question for everybody, how do we find a unicorn? What do you think the first step is to finding a unicorn? I'm not even going to define unicorn. I'm just going to ask you that question.
Well, gosh, I think, isn't the half the battle just showing up, right? They need to show up, first of all. I think that's your first clue. They showed up one time.
So whether or not the unicorn is actually on the earth, and present for us to talk to is definitely a first good sign. Sure, absolutely. Okay, I forgot about this part. I added this in like 3 weeks ago when I wrote these slides. Here we go. First, Shar, you got to do this too. Okay, I'll do it as well. I totally forgot, so I'm actually literally going to have to run and do this. First, mini scavenger hunt. All right. So small scavenger hunt. And Thomas, you can do it right at the desk if you don't want to have to run around, but just find something in your room, in your desk, in the area that allows you or that basically represents a goal that you have for yourself over the next 12 months or through 2024. Okay. And go first, only because we can see how it goes. So first off, I found a mic, just a microphone. One of my goals this year is to grow my speaking business and to have more opportunities to go out and speak inside of local businesses to leaders about being leaders and about working with their people and helping their people to achieve. Big heartfelt passion of mine. So got the mics, got the lights, got all the things in order to start heading that direction, either virtually or in person. So big goal for me. What about you, Thomas?
I have here this little bottle of champagne.
Ooh.
That someone, I think it was maybe like a lending company, tried to drop some stuff off to gain our business. And so I kept it. And my goal over the next 12 months is to grow my photography revenue by 30%. And then when I hit that, I'll have a reason to open this bottle of champagne.
To pop it. I love that. That's awesome. So good. The coach in me has questions on that, and we'll skip it for this call. Maybe we talk about it Friday. So love that. Shara, what did you find?
Well, basically, I have the nearest here in my table is actually my notebook. As you know, one of my plans this year is to really write more songs for me to be able to have to release an album. And Thomas, just so you know, I'm also, aside from being a growth backer outside work, I'm a singer and musician, so I'm actually like planning to really release an album hopefully by the end of this year, or like an EP album. So basically it's really for me to write more songs and for me to be able to write my goals as well. So I think that's the best way to start, as always. Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
That's awesome.
So that's the scavenger hunt. That's our goal for the next year. Who do you need in your business to help you hit that goal? Another way I ask this question often, especially if there's already if you're already working for a company or you already have your own company in which you have employees. But another way I'll ask this question often is, do you have the right people hired in your business now to help you hit the goal in 2024? And I realize that this particular conversation, not everybody has anybody hired, and not everybody is going to hire somebody, but sometimes this could just be connections that you make, the people that you're talking to, people that you need to have in your life. So again, we're looking for unicorns here. So who do we need to have in our lives, either working for us or in connection with us, in order to help us hit this goal in 2024? All right, and Thomas, and I don't know, like inside of your photography business, is this a just you thing at this point? Is there somebody that could help you to grow the 30%, or once you grow the 30%, is that when you start looking for people to help?
No, I don't think I don't need anyone directly. I don't need to hire an employee. I don't need to hire an assistant. One day I'll probably get to the point where I maybe need help with bookkeeping and stuff like that. But I know one of the connections I need to make is I need to grow my referral network. And so I need to network with builders and interior designers. I want to focus a lot of my attention on real estate photography, but not just for MLS listings, but for a remodeling company that just did a project and wants to get pictures to show it off and stuff like that. So I need to grow my referral network in that sense.
Yeah, love that. Sure thing. And I inside of Cyberbacker, I'm doing that every week. There's one tonight in Annapolis, by the way, that I get to go shoot people with a bow and arrow as part of the networking event. So that's fun. For sure. I love that. And inside of Cyberbacker, we're doing the same. And I know you know this. You work inside of a Keller Williams office. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent has great marketing and prospecting advice inside of that in order to grow that way. One of the things that I'm doing, I hired a new coaching company for myself. I joined a coaching company that was specifically on pushing people into and showing the right habits, the right activities in order to grow a speaking business. So literally coaching with speakers who have built $1 million speaking businesses, which is pretty wild. That wasn't even my goal, but now that I've talked to them for as many months as I have, I think it could be, right? So that's pretty fun and exciting. So the question then being, and you just mentioned this, Thomas, so we'll skirt on through to some degree, is what is the main task that they would take off of your plate? And you mentioned bookkeeping. Obviously, networking is going to be a big part of it. And so growing the network, database management, the behind the scenes things so you can get out and get shoulder to shoulder with people is amazing. So this is one of those interesting pieces that for anybody that's watching this later and anybody that's listening obviously now, is this is the beginning of what we would call the job description, right? So start listing these out as you realize what tasks you'd like to have people taken off of your plate, whether that's a concierge service or just something that that your company needs more focus on. If we're a solopreneur, currently we're the job, right? So we can literally create multiple job descriptions inside of our own business for the jobs that we hold for our business. So that way, when we feel like it's time to start getting leverage, we can peel off the job that we don't want to have the most in order to find that new person working for us. Okay. So if you know that bookkeeping is part of it, Thomas, and Shara, you mentioned the person that was helping you inside of your business. What other major tasks could you get off of your plate? As an example, I hate database management and like the email type follow-up things. Like this is the kind of stuff that I love. If I could stand in front of a camera all day long or stand in front of a room all day long and talk to people and help people uncover their obstacles, I'd be super happy. So anything that involves organization of content and data outside of actually interacting with people I'd love to get those off of my plate. Is it the key part of the job? Probably not. The key part would still be reaching out and helping me find the places to speak while I'm out speaking, right? Like it's tough to lead generate if you're standing up in front of a room other than asking the room for referrals. And so, but somebody that could make those calls, help schedule the appointments, and then on the back end, also handle the database and the follow-up tasks. Like somebody like that starts to sound like an ideal position for me. What about you all?
One thing that is an option for me, and I still don't know how I feel about it personally, but if I ever get so busy taking pictures, I may need to outsource the editing.
Yeah.
I know that's something that already a lot of busy real estate photographers do. You know, like I'm saying, I don't know how I feel about it because my name is on my product, and I feel very personal about overseeing my product. So outsourcing something is very new, is a new concept for me.
Yeah.
But it is one thing I do have to consider. Because if I'm out taking pictures for 8 hours a day, I don't have the time to edit all of those pictures.
Yeah, 100%, right? And what's interesting about that, and that's honestly that's where this idea for the unicorn comes from. And so we'll ask that a little bit later on. And you know, an early question for you then, Thomas, as we start getting moving is, you know, would you then call yourself a unicorn?
I mean, yeah, I think I am.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I know I am for other people.
Yeah. And for yourself, right? Like if you know that it's your skill and your talent that really makes your company shine, then you're a unicorn, right? You're the magic.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I am the magic.
Shar, you're a unicorn.
Yeah.
Like you're the magic. Like you literally have talked to every single client inside of my company, right? Like, and so like that's super exciting to me. Like most of my clients, it always reminds me of that my best friend's wedding line, you know, where Richard Gere turns to his wife and says, you know, did you really talk to my assistants more than you talked to me? And she goes, well, she was my maid of honor, my second wedding, right? Like it always reminds me of that line because you know, that's in my opinion a great sign that you found somebody great when they are taking care of your people as good as you. So I love that. All right, so if you're going to bring somebody on that starts to fill that role, you know, what other non-negotiables could they have? It could be certifications, right? It could be licenses. It could be a certain amount of education inside of what it is that you do. It could be a certain experience level, right? Like we want to know that they've had service experience. We want to know that they have a heart of helping people. So what are the non-negotiables that you have inside of this role for the person that you might be looking for, or again, even in yourself? I had a conversation with a client just this past Monday where he was looking at creating SOPs and breaking up the scope of his businesses into multiple buckets. And one of the reasons he was breaking it up that way is because they were trying to come up with a little bit of a triage approach for weeknights and weekends. You know, when something goes wrong, who should they be calling, right? And as they were going through these approaches and figuring it out who it was, like he had to start looking at his own experience level to determine whether or not he was the most experienced, the best person for people to be talking to in certain situations. I mean, the goal was him to leverage some of it off to others, so he wasn't the only one taking after hours calls. But as we were doing that, he realized he wasn't always even the best person to be taking after hour calls, that there were other people on his team that were going to know more about the things that were happening and would likely be the best person to talk to. Now, he couldn't give it all to one person or another because obviously then your life just sucks. You're working 24/7. So how do you look for talent when there's certain experience that needs to be involved? Like, who are you cutting out? Sometimes is the experience something that's helping the talent, or could the experience also hinder the talent? So give me an example of a hindering. You ever talk to somebody in your life where they have experience and that experience would probably actually hurt them in the role that they're applying for?
That's a good question. I can't think of anything at the moment. I want to come back to that.
Yeah, and I was thinking about you, Thomas, when for part of that, you've got your own particular style of editing. You've got a certain look that you probably want your photos to have. So if somebody has editing experience, but they don't have Thomas Madison editing experience, you're going to have to unteach them and then reteach them how to do what it is that you're looking for. Now, having no experience probably isn't helpful. We probably want to know that they know their way around certain editing software. I know a lot of people over the years that have said, I want to hire people that have never been in the industry before because I don't want to have to unteach them bad habits, right? And so in the same vein, how are we determining in the interview process, in the job description, what their good habits are and which ones we want them to make sure to hold on to, which ones are the non-negotiables. All right, so let's take a pause and look through what we've gone through so far. We've got the main job functions. We've got their top 20% tasks. So these are the other tasks that they have to do in order to make sure that the job is complete. And all of this is in an effort to hit our big goal for 2024, right? What's the main task they're taking off your plate? What are the other things that they're going to do to help you hit your goal? What are these non-negotiables? And so the question that I have for you then is, thinking about this, looking at yourself, we just decided Thomas is a unicorn, Shar is a unicorn, but then also looking at others, who do you know that could handle this role? Are there other people out there that you've encountered, that you've met, that are inside of your friend circle, your network circle, who could be the right person for you in your life regarding taking some of this pressure off of you as you go to hit your goal in 2024? Yeah, Shar is shaking her head yes. So let's see if is your mic working right now, Shar? How does that person help you?
Thinking of our conversation yesterday, Jeff, I believe that we're talking about the person that we're gonna be hiring to add, to our team, right? So I'm actually thinking really about, setting me up with a client, right? So I think that's for me to just, attend the meeting and, deal with the client. So, it's appointment setting, right? So the cold caller person that we're actually talking about. So
yeah,
it's going to be a huge help, really.
And that's a perfect example, right? We're trying to figure out what a unicorn looks like right now.
Yes.
Literally in our own business. We help other people do this. And in our own business, we're following the process right now. We're looking at all the tasks that you do. We're trying to determine which ones are the right ones to pull off of your plate right now in order to give you more time to do the things that are going to grow the business, right? In order to give you more time to do the things that allow you to be more successful at your job. So as we go to hire Shar as admin, is that admin a cold caller? Is it somebody on the marketing tip of the spear, right? Cold calling and
yes.
or is it a database person that's taking off those computer tasks, right?
Yes.
Are we peeling off the database management? We peeling off the emails and social media posts, or are we peeling off the monotony of cold calling, and you're still handling the pieces that touch the clients that we know? I don't know. That's what we're working on right now. We're still trying to define our unicorn.
Right.
So perfect example. I mean, we know what the tasks look like. We've written those down.
Yes.
But we don't know who's going to do those tasks over the long term over the next couple of weeks, other than the one, business evaluations, right?
Yes, agree.
Right. You're still keeping the appointments. You're still keeping that front line client approach. Yeah. Great example. Cool. All right. So see, we're starting to get an idea of what a unicorn looks like. All right. So here we go. We keep moving along. This takes us back to that earlier question. So what makes this unicorn magical, right? How do we know that you're making magic with this new person on your team? What is it that really makes this person stand out? How do you recognize that they are talent? So give some examples. I mean, Thomas, you mentioned monotony of interviews earlier, right? Like that sometimes the interviews aren't always so fun.
Yeah, this is very true. And, I'm recalling an example of not a fun interview, actually a bad interview where I immediately sat down with the person and I didn't even want to bother talking to this person anymore. I mean, this was someone who wanted to be a server in the restaurant. And, especially when you're short staffed in a restaurant, you have a level of expectations, but they're kind of lowered a little bit, especially when you just need bodies. But this person was wearing raggedy clothes. He had a half lit cigarette in his hand,
Oh.
and it was very disappointing. That person was not a unicorn.
It reminds me, when I was working for Tesla, we had an interview day, and one of my district managers, one of the things that we would do is we'd have multiple interviews with the same candidate on the same day. So that way they didn't have to leave and then come back for a second interview process at the time. So if it was somebody that we liked, they moved from the one table into the waiting area and then back to another table with a new set of DMs. And we would kind of compare the notes, right? Like, why did you like them? What did you not like about them? And this particular candidate, very similar to what you just said, like he had it was a dirty white t-shirt that had holes in it, and he did not come dressed to impress. And one of my district managers was like, I want him. I don't know, there's something about him. I just want him. I want him. I want him. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why in the world would you want to hire that person? And funny enough, like it started to show us it wasn't specifically about the candidate, it was about the district manager. The district manager went on to become a pastor, and he liked that challenge. Like he liked to find somebody that he thought he could help, but it wasn't necessarily the right person for the role, to your point, right? Like you're looking at somebody that's going to be a service to others. You need to find somebody that's a giving person and not a taking person, right? So I think that's key. It's what is the culture, or what is the mission of the building that you're running, right? And so if our mission is to serve others well, then we need to find people that have a culture or a servant heart in order to work with others and give great service. If we're looking for, it reminds me of that Boiler Room movie with Vin Diesel, right? Or Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like we're looking for like cutthroat, do whatever it takes salespeople. Doesn't matter who we step on to get ahead. That servant heart person probably wouldn't be a good fit, right? And so defining what it is that makes your company magical. I have a hard time saying Wolf of Wall Street is magical, and there are people that enjoy that, so no judgment zone. But defining what it is that makes your company, what makes you magical, is important in order to find a person that fits in with that magic. So what is the extra special sparkle that makes your company and your team unique? Every company, and we did this before we hired you, Shara, right? Jose Maria and I sat down and we said, what value is really important to us when it comes to how we want to build a culture inside of our team. And I think there's nobody else in all of Cyberbacker that would look at our team and say that we don't work well together. We definitely found a team that fits a value list and that fits a culture together as far as our heart for other people, right? And so love that. And again, for your company out there, what is it that makes your company stand out? Whether that's a key position on a mission statement, a unique positioning or a unique mission statement that helps you stand out a little bit different from others. Tom's shoes, right? We give a pair of shoes to the needy every time somebody buys. I know real estate companies that take money and put it aside to help homeless find homes, right? Like what burden is on your heart? What attitude do you bring that's just a little bit different? That Avis commercial, right? We try harder, right? Versus we try hard. It's like what is it that stands you out? Think of something, write it down. how do you stand out above the competition, and how will you find that and identify that when you're interviewing others that you want to stand out above the competition in order to be unique? All right, so we've got our company story, we've got our mission, we've got our core values. By the way, I have a core values worksheet. That's a great core values worksheet. It's a Google sheet. You can literally go down and put X's and thin down your core values until you find your top 10 and then your top 3 from a list of about 250. If anybody wants to see what that Google sheet looks like, let me know. Let Shara know. Throw it in the chat, or just tell us right now, Thomas. But email maryland@cyberbacker.com and we'll get you a copy of it so you can identify your values. Now, what makes this even more fun and interesting to me is your personal values are going to be slightly different than your company's values. And usually your company's values are still going to be in your top 10, even if your personal values are your top 3. Sorry, you unmuted. Were you going to say you want it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, send it my way.
We will. We'll do that for sure. Great. And then obviously defining that culture. Okay. So if you haven't written it down, let's take a moment, write down a little bit about your story. That's going to take a little bit longer. Do you have a company mission statement? Have you identified your company's core values? And what culture would you say defines your company? And if you're a solopreneur watching this later, right? That's your story. That's your mission. That's your values. You, even if you're working alone, you still have a culture that you stick to, right? I know there is a friend of mine who is in the legal industry. He's an attorney, and he had a specific set of clients that he wanted to be working with. And during the pandemic, he stretched that. And he took on clients that he told me he probably would not have taken on had it not been for the interesting economic times, right? And within weeks, he realized it was a mistake. He didn't enjoy working with the clients. He was doing work that he didn't enjoy doing. And within another couple of weeks, he had an opportunity to work with somebody that would have been ideal inside of their culture and inside of their mission and their story. And he didn't have the capability of handling that additional client at the time because he had taken on the wrong clients. And I thought that was really, really interesting that, his fear caused him to go outside of his core values and his mission statement. And because of going outside of it, he actually missed an opportunity to grow larger inside of it. So again, when you identify your story, your mission, your values, and your culture, then you can start to use that as a little bit of a constitution to pass through your decisions. And those decisions include finding your unicorns, right? It includes hiring that unicorn. So we're going to put all that together, right? We've got this identity statement for your company. We have your main job function. We've got the top 20%. We've got your non-negotiables. What does it all look like? We're going to put all that on a piece of paper. What does that look like?
A unicorn?
As a wanted poster, right? Like, it's literally like we know exactly what it is we're looking for. Could be the unicorn for sure. Right? That's it. We know what our unicorn looks like. From how the company's lined up to what it is that person will specifically be doing. How do they fit into the company, and how we're going to go? So that's literally, it's our job profile. And that's what a job profile should look like. If you need any help with this, if you need any demos of this or examples sent out to you, again, reach out and we can send you some demo. This is one that I made up for a company that I own. And we were helping to do marketing and prospecting for a dental surgery center. So we were hiring what we called a dental liaison. It was somebody that was connecting physicians, surgery center with doctors and offices, right? And so they're going back and forth and just helping to grow referrals and make connections. And so same thing. We started it with the vision and the mission of the company. We started with an idea about how that person would fit into the culture, right? We listed out some of the non-negotiables that the person would need to have the job. We put in some of the core competencies that we knew that their personality and their values would have to connect with. And then we went right into the key priorities in that top 20%. And I think this one's kind of key, which a lot of people don't talk about as often. We set the expectations for the job right in the job description. So from the interview, from the moment they apply, they could already know what would make them successful or non-successful in the role. We could start to talk about it from the interview, and then literally every single week in their one-on-ones, going from there. What does success look like? We're going to talk about the success as we continue to go. And so, Thomas, taking it back to the beginning, right? If you're a unicorn, Char, if you're a unicorn, once we know, first off, that unicorns exist, and that's the hardest part, right? It's like unicorns are kind of like this big mythical creature. And sometimes it's easy to convince ourselves that a unicorn doesn't exist. Like, in fact, so many times I've seen small businesses come back and say, you know, I've been looking and looking and looking for the right person. And as I'm looking for this right person, you know, I'm starting to believe that the right person just isn't out there. Like, well, wait a minute. That can't be true. Has anybody ever in the history of business found somebody that's great at what it is that you're looking for them to do? What do you think, Shara? Has anybody in the history of business ever found somebody that was great at your job?
Oh, basically, maybe I cannot really say, but so far from my experience, I think.
Yeah, and the person that you're looking to hire, has anybody in the history of business ever found somebody great at the job that you're looking to fill?
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty amazing. My wife likes to pop my bubble. Like, she likes to say she carries around this big hat pin to pop my head as I walk through doors, right? So I like to think that I'm pretty amazing. And I also know, because it's happened a lot, that I'm pretty replaceable. You're like, it's not going to be very long after I leave a company before somebody finds a replacement for me. And often that replacement might be a better fit. There's a reason I left the company, right? Like, I hold no doubt that other people out there can do the job that I'm leaving better than me. In fact, I have no doubt that other people out there can probably do the job that I'm doing better than me. I'm going to do it uniquely, and I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to be the only me that can be, because I am the only me that can be. And if I'm a unicorn, one must agree that unicorns exist. And if unicorns exist, once I've identified what it is that I'm looking for, it's pretty easy to find one, right? Fair? Great. Speaking of finding jobs, I don't know about you guys, but I really wanted to go find a construction worker. You know, I was hoping a construction worker was going to join our call today, Shara. I was. Thomas, did you know that? Like, why would I want a construction worker to join our call today, Thomas?
I have no idea, Jeff.
Well, it's because I've been trying to write a joke on construction. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it.
Okay. Okay. Good one.
I know, it's horrible. All right. Okay. So that being said, what's an action item? Thomas, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the energy that you brought. And if you were to pick an action item for today, and listen, I'm a business coach. You've got a small business, and so I wouldn't be a very good business coach if I didn't at least challenge you to again, whether you hire somebody or not, or whether you're just writing a job description, so that way you can recognize where you could find some some leverage, even if it's not a full hire, but something that you can pass on to somebody. Like you mentioned the editing thing as you start to grow, maybe that's a Fiverr opportunity or whatever, right? Like what type of work could be occurring inside of your photography business that if you found somebody else to do it would help you grow, right? Or what type of work inside of your photography business should be part of your job description that you know that you should be doing more often, that if it was a non-negotiable, if it was a top 20% action item to grow your business, even if it's something that you're assigning to you on your job description, what would that be?
Okay. Yeah, I think I already know it actually.
Oh yeah, great. What is it?
I think pretty soon it wouldn't be a bad idea to think about someone who can help me with marketing and cold calling, or just reaching out to different people and trying to get clients and trying to get business.
Yeah, love that, right? One of my favorite quotes from, again, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I give this book to so many small business people out there. I read it before I got involved with KW and literally bought cases of it to hand out to small businesses, because one of my favorite lines in it is, no matter what it is that you do, no matter what your main job is, you really have two jobs: your main job and lead generation, right? Like the company's got to have a tip of spear lead generation in order to grow. If it doesn't have somebody working to grow, it never will. Crazy how that works. Love it. Good. Okay. So next week, we'll share this real quick one more time, real quick. I'm not even sure where that came from. All right. So next week, we've got coming up inside of our leadership, we've got welcoming our winners. So this goes along with what you're looking at too, Thomas. Welcoming our winners. Wow, it's the big wow factor for hiring. Okay, so if you've identified your unicorn, and this is the progress that we've gone through, right? So as a company, we've identified what type of leader we want to be. We've looked at our vision of our company's future. That was session 2. What's that org chart look like? What are we going to look like 5 years from now? What will we look like someday? How big do we want to grow, and who do we need to get us there? Now we've identified the unicorn that we know we'll need in order to get us moving through that next step. And once we've identified them and we go out and start interviewing and hiring them, it's time to get them onboarded. If you all need some help with hiring and interviewing, there is a personality assessment that Cyberbacker offers, that Keller Williams offers, that MAPS Business Coaching offers, that you can use. And since so many different people use so many different assessments, that is the actual act of interviewing is not something we're going to go through in the leadership series, unless you guys come back later and tell me it's something you really need. But onboarding them, setting the expectations, and moving forward through the accountability process with new hires, that is what we're going to jump into starting next week.